Greetings, students, and welcome to another fun-filled day here at
Horror
in the Halls. What's up, kids, and welcome to Horror in the Halls. I'm Bob, aka Mr. Holland.
And I'm Jenny, aka Mrs. Hill.
We're just two high school teachers educating the masses on the spooky stuff we love. And it's August here in the halls, and that means it's time to go back to school. So grab your supplies. I know. So grab your supplies and join us as we start the year off with 2014's Cooties.
Yes.
I feel like all those little jerks have Cooties.
Right.
All of them.
I know a few that legit felt like they had the Cooties from this movie because I'm like, y'all jerks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude.
Hashtag Patriot.
Oh, that kid sucks. When I taught elementary school, this is what it felt like, dude. Like, you look in the hallways, you're just like, this is how horror movies start, man. And like when I saw this movie the first time, because I didn't see it till way after it came out. I was already a teacher when I saw it. I want to say I was doing elementary school, and I was like, you're going out there doing recess, and you're just like, this is how the movie feels. It feels legitimate. Like, kids are just wild everywhere, and they're feral, and you're trying to get them all wrangled back to where you need them to go, and it was just like this movie. So they did a good job. I don't recommend it for those of you who are, listening.
What is it?
Teaching elementary school. Like that. Don't do it.
No, absolutely not. There's a lot of things I don't like about elementary school, and I applaud any teacher that takes on that amount of ridiculousness. Like the tattling and the booger eating and the potty breaks, and some kids aren't even potty trained when they come to school, which to me is absurd.
Yeah.
I heard that this year, just before we get started. I know this is terrible, but to have a kindergartner show up to school and have to say, I need my diaper changed. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
So that's above my pay grade.
100%. Like, that's rough,
I would
buddy.
call mom and dad and be like, excuse me. So your child needs her diaper change. I'm going to need you to come to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways. No.
That should be a requirement. Like one of those, you need your vaccinations, you need this, you need that, and you should be potty trained or you cannot come to school.
I thought it was, but I could be totally wrong.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Luckily, I didn't teach kindergarten, so I don't know anything about it.
No, I've never taught. I was a student success coach in an elementary school setting, and I didn't mind that because I worked with little bad cheering all day, which I like.
Self-contained, so I had second, third, fourth, and fifth graders. Yeah. Yeah, I had the rough ones, but it was a lot of stories, but we won't get into them. I'll be talking about just that. All right, let's get into the details of Cooties before we get too far off task. So it was original. I feel like Wade's character
Originally
released January 18th of 2014 at Sundance, of course. This is a very Sundance feeling film. Had a wide release September 18th. 2015, which is fairly common. If movies are really good at Sundance, they usually get picked up for distribution that way. At those kind of, South by Southwest, Sundance, a couple other ones, Tribeca, things like that. Runtime 94 minutes, directed by Jonathan Millot and Carrie Murian, which they met at the Parsons School of Design, where they decided they were going to do an animation design and advertising firm. And then eventually decided, hey, we're going to do movies. This is their first feature film. They had some shorts together beforehand, but this is their feature debut.
Which is funny.
I know, right? It's a great thing. I don't know how. I guess maybe they made so many good connections because the cast of this movie is nuts, which I'll get to in a second. But it's written by Lee Warnell and Ian Brennan. Lee Warnell created Saw and Insidious with James Wan. Like, that dude, he knows what he's doing. Like the short film and the very first Saw, he wrote all of those. He wrote Saw up until Saw 3, I believe. Not 3D, but just Saw 3. And then he wrote almost all the Insidious movies. Ian Brennan created Glee and Scream Queens for TV. So like, I guess that's why you got some of those TV people in there, because he has those connections. So I guess having the whoever wrote the movie more so probably than the directors, but I think they lucked out for real for this to be your
They really
feature
did.
and to have that many actors. Like I know who almost every person in this movie is, other than the kids.
Yeah, right.
Like
You
every
don't know who
actor has
Patriot
a
is?
something else.
He was sent from God.
Yeah, he's a patriot. It's crazy how that worked out. So they were in charge of the story and the screenplay. Um, One of the I think producers maybe had the idea for a zombie comedy kind of film. Originally, though, it was supposed to be a lot darker, and they decided to go with a comedy because I was watching this behind the scenes stuff, and Lee Warnell goes, "It's called Cooties." Like that was his reason for making it a comedy. He was like, because they wanted it to be really scary, and he was like, "You're calling this movie Cooties? It's got to be a comedy." So that's where it came
Yeah.
from. Thank goodness. Um, Cinematography is Lyle Vincent. He's done a couple other things like A Girl Walks Home, The Bad Batch, and of course Cooties. I'll get into his stuff when we get in the rubric. I wasn't anything like to write home about really. Um, Special effects, Martin Astles. I think I can't ever say his name right. He's done a lot of like small things. He was in charge of makeup in this one. He actually designed the new Leatherface mask, which I'm not a fan of, but it's cool that he did the whole thing. He applied it the whole nine. I
Okay.
couldn't find a budget. It did not do well in the movies though. The box office was like $500,000, and that was it. So hopefully their budget was not 5 million or nothing. The score is terrible. It's got a 40%, 46% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 38% audience score, which is
I feel
horrid.
like if it was re-released now, it would do a lot better because I feel like a lot of teachers would want to go see it.
Probably. Well, but like most people didn't even hear about it. Like I didn't hear about it
Yeah.
until later on after it came out.
I didn't know what it was until you said something about it, like, the first time I watched it. So and the second time I watched it, it was even better than the first time I watched it,
Yeah, it
so
just gets better. It's ridiculous. Other than the
yeah, there's stuff
beginning,
that I
which
didn't notice.
beginning makes me want to vomit.
Oh, me too, I mentioned that. Ooh,
Mm,
it's bad.
yes, it's got a 2.8 on Letterboxd, and then the cast,
Oh,
like you said earlier, is just nuts. So first off, we
they
have
deserve better
Elijah
scores than
Wood.
that. So
I know, right? I agree. We get Elijah Wood as the main character, Clint Hudson, Rainn Wilson as Wade Johnson, Allison Pill, which I love so much, is Lucy McCormick. Jack McBrayer's in this as Tracy Lacey, which is hilarious. Lee Warnell plays Doug Davis. He's also one of the writers. Nassim Pedrad, Rebecca Halverston, she was an SNL cast member when she did this. That's why her character seems so like sketch comedy, because that was all she knew. Uh, Ian Brennan, also the writer, is Vice Principal Sims. You got Jorge Garcia as Rick, which he's pretty funny. He's just the shroom eating dude in the crazy 70s van, the crossing guard. Um, you got Sunny Mae Allison, sorry, as Shelley Linker, the little girl, like the patient zero. Cooper Roth as Patriot. Apparently, Patriot's a big deal. Kid's a turd. Miles Elliott is Dink, also a terrible name for a child. Let's see. Peter Wong is Mr. Hitachi. He was from Big Trouble in Little China, which was pretty cool. Uh, Matt Jones is Sheriff Dave. He's in a bunch of stuff, but he was awesome in Brightburn. And that's just kind of extra stuff. Some of the other actors are the kids. Let's see.
a couple teachers that go down on the playground.
Yeah, quick like Armani Jackson as Calvin. Mark Christopher Lawrence as Mr. Peterson. He was in a bunch. He makes a bunch of bit roles and stuff. Like I think he was in like T2. Couple other like horror movies. He just plays like a cop or like an extra. He's an extra in a bunch of stuff. That dude's whole acting career. I was looking at his IMDb. It's like bit roles and a bunch of random stuff. So he's a teacher, like the heavier black teacher that gets like his guts ripped out in the playground. He's like the first teacher to die.
Yeah.
Is Mr. Peterson. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I love this movie. I think I suggested it to you guys when we first started hanging out. Sorry. I think it's funny. It's creepy. It essentially encapsulates what being a teacher's like, man. All the kids just showing up, and there's so many of them and so few of you. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like I always think that in the hallway during class change because I'm so tall I can see over everybody, and you just see like wall to wall children. It's like, oh my god, this is how a horror movie starts. And then I saw Cooties, and I was like, this really was how a horror movie starts. This is awesome. So, what are your thoughts, Janae?
I mean, I love this movie. I think it's funny. It always just it made me laugh more the second time than the first time. I feel like it gets better with each time you watch it. And like the quotes were so good, and I love I love Wade's character so much. He's my favorite. Like I could have just it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. His whole aesthetic was hilarious, and um I liked that there were some parts in it too where it kind of shed some light on what it actually is like to be a teacher, which I appreciated. Because I feel like a lot of people do realize that our job is not easy. And I liked that it didn't spend a lot of time on it, but every once in a while you get a little snippet.
yeah. There was like
And
two
it's
different
like, that's
parts, I
how
think.
yeah, I was like, it feels, it felt more real to me. I'm like, this is what it feels. And then like Teacher's Lounge, I'm like, this is exactly what a Teacher's Lounge is like. You got the weird one, you got the energetic sub, it's just
Yeah,
all of it. I'm like, oh, it's funny.
I do like those scenes. Like, and I like how, like I said, Wade's character, just from jump, you immediately have an opinion of him with his big, ridiculous truck, and like he parks all close, and then he comes up and introduces himself, and he's like, "Pleased to meet you with meat to please you." I'm like, what? Who says that to the first time they meet a person? So his character is like a caricature, essentially, but he's very much a gym teacher. Like,
Yes.
I'm here, whatever.
Him in
Um,
his tracksuit and boots. I
heck
love it.
yeah,
It's so
sleeveless
funny.
T-shirt out there.
Uh,
Yeah, he does make it. And of course, it's Rainn Wilson, so you really can't go wrong with Rainn Wilson. Like he's great
mm-mm.
in almost everything. There's really almost no, I don't know. There's anything. A couple of movies he's done where I was kind of like, but like for the most part, he's just one of those actors who's as long as you let him kind of do what he wants to do, he's going to deliver something good, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Wood is just great at playing a weird person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he gets a lot
Yes.
of I mean, of course, he's Frodo, so you get a lot of that, and they kind of make a little, nod to him being a Hobbit in this one, a
Yeah,
little
that I
joke,
wrote that down.
which is fine. But like, if you watch some of his other stuff, like he plays a creepy dude, like way better than he plays anything else. Like that, his character in
Yeah.
Maniac was super weird.
That's what I told Johnny. I was like, I will always remember him as that
Yeah,
because that movie is just it's like all over you. Like, ugh,
yeah.
I can't.
It's
It's not my favorite. I'll never watch it again. So,
I
yep.
like him in Sin City. The Good Son. Like since he was a kid, he's just been he's a good actor. He only gets like
Mhm.
remembered as Frodo. Of course, that's like the biggest movie he's ever been in, which is understandable. It's Lord of the Rings, but he's well rounded. So I really like his character. He plays these roles like these kind of like sort of a failure character, but he thinks he's not really well, right? He wants to be a writer of what sounds like from the snippet you get of a terrible book. Like he's doing that little voice recorder thing, like the boat
About
was evil, but didn't know how evil. What? Like this is not Christine. Come on, bro.
I love when Wade was like, "Oh, like Christine."
Yeah.
He's like Stephen King, on a car. He said, "Well,
No.
it's not a car; it's a boat."
Yeah. It's the same story. What?
But he
Yeah.
calls it. He said, "You're gonna sneak around like a little hobbit." That
Yeah.
was Wade. Oh god, I love it so much. I think this is that first. I don't think I caught that the first time I watched it because I harped on it for like a good minute after it was over because I thought it was funny.
It was. It was funny. Like some people think it's a little too like, but I think it's great. They worked well together. And like this, just like some of the bigger movies, when you have this many funny people, like almost the entire cast are comics, are people from like
Mm-hmm.
comedic backgrounds, right? You have so many actors in this that's all they do. Like pretty much
You say the one
everyone
that
except
plays
for Elijah
Rebecca?
Wood.
You say the one that plays Rebecca was SNL?
Yeah.
Okay, because her character was so ridiculous.
She's also
But I
on
loved.
New Girl, but yeah, she at the time this came out, she
Okay,
was an SNL cast member. So it
okay,
seems like what she's
it
doing is
makes
like
sense.
a sketch on SNL with her like the state of Illinois doesn't trust its citizenry with sensible gun laws. Like it just seems like an SNL skit making fun of some political person. You know what I mean? Like the way she's dressing and acting, the whole thing. So she did a good job. Yeah, it's Nassim Pedrad. She's awesome.
Yeah, she was funny too. I liked all of them. They were all hilarious in their own right. But like, and then the guy you said Doug was the guy who plays Doug is one of the one of the directors
No,
or
writer. He's one of the
writers.
writers.
Oh my gosh, Doug's funny too.
Yeah. Well, you know
So
the
awkward.
I mean he acts in his own movies too. You know, like the dude in the you know in Saw, there's like two dudes in that room. Well, the very first
Mhm.
dude is Lee Warnow. Like that's him. The one that's like
Okay.
the younger guy, not Carrie Elway,
Yeah.
but the other guy. Yeah, that's him. But he's like the creator of that. So yeah, he was
Okay.
funny. He was so good. Like I love that scene in his classroom. He has all like body parts like velcroed to himself,
Yeah.
and he's just so weird. And he's like, "Oh look, Carnage!" And it's like, what? Like he's just deadpan. Um,
I
yeah,
like
I
when he
like it.
yells at Rebecca, "Rebecca, please be quiet." And she's not even talking.
Yeah,
And then one time she goes, "Oh my gosh, I was actually talking that time." He kept yelling at her,
yes.
"Rebecca, please be quiet."
I'm trying to focus. It's just like
It's so
what?
funny.
And he comes back with that kid's brain. So I'm like, oh okay. It was good. Like I said, there's points in the story where it's kind of silly, but if you look at it too seriously, then you're not going to have a good credit on this. I mean, it's a zombie comedy film, zomcom, if you will. Kids are infected. It had an interesting premise, like it only affects people who haven't gone through puberty yet, which I think is interesting because it makes sense. Like once you hit those certain ages and your brain's done developing, I guess whatever. I could see something weird happening. Um, Starts off in a real chicken farm too. All those scenes are a real chicken farm. That gross chicken nugget when she bites that, I almost want to throw up every single time. It's
That
so
whole first
nasty.
scene and with that included was terrible because
I
that was
know.
my first comment. I was like, I really, really, really hate watching the process of making chicken
I know.
nuggets.
It
I
makes you
just,
never want to eat them ever again.
well, I can't anyway. But
Well, I know.
even if I could, it's like, why am I eating these?
Hmm.
I've seen the process. It's so
I
gross.
know, dude. The first time I saw it, I was at like a hardcore show and they had these like animal liberation front dudes there because it was like a straight edge show and they were all crazy. But they were showing this video and it was like a chicken farm. Then it goes to them making like the weird pink paste. And I'm like, that's disgusting. And in my brain, I'm like, I should
Right,
never eat this crap ever again. And then now I'm like, but chicken nuggets are so good. You can't go wrong with nuggies. But then you watch this movie, you're like, I'm going to stop eating chicken nuggets forever because
right.
it's just gross. It's just gross. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. There's like the main kind of plot. There's a virus. It only affects children. We're all in elementary school, which leads to some great shenanigans of these
Mhm.
adults trying to get away. There's some great kills in this movie, I think. Um, Vice Principal Sims getting like ripped apart
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
He was so ridiculous.
He really was. He
Oh my
really was.
gosh. But yeah, I split open and quartered.
Yeah, on a big giant map of the United States. He went from coast to coast.
I didn't even notice that. That's
Yeah.
funny.
There's some funny things in this, like the kid who is jump roping with the intestines. That's Rainn Wilson's son, which I thought was kind of cool. But it's just an interesting, like like you see these zombie films, and like the zombies are just motivated just to eat and attack and kill. These kids are like playing with body parts because they're children. It's like, ha ha, ha. There's a head on a tetherball string. And then like Rainn Wilson's kid is jump roping with intestines and they're playing kickball with a head and just ridiculous stuff. And it makes me
The little
laugh.
girl riding around on the trike inside the school.
Yes. And she's creepy, dude.
Yeah, she is. That whole scene, I was like, "Ew."
It's
And she'd like
intense.
stop and she'd look at in the in the little grate for
Yeah.
the vent, and she's like, her eyes are real big. I'm like, "Ew."
And she's
It's
like not
terrible.
moving, just like,
Yeah, it's like she wasn't motivated to like. She was just motivated to alert, not to eat or to do anything else. She
Yeah.
was just riding around her stupid little trike. Freaking gross.
Gonna scream in a minute. Yeah, it was uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but also great.
Mm-hmm.
There's some funny stuff. Like a couple of little facts about this one, like the Danville place. That's the same town they used for WandaVision. So we've seen that before if you've ever watched WandaVision. Ring Wilson apparently did all of his own stunts, which is my favorite at the end of this movie. So just to get most of the plot, decent story, pretty, pretty standard zombie fare. Kids get infected. They're trying to hold up inside some building, stay away from them. You get the gist. You find a couple of kids who aren't infected. They're trying to save people. You have a couple scenes where the cast are turning on each other because one of them might be infected, one of them might not be, which is kind of pretty standard zombie movie if you're going by the bullet points. But the end of this one I like the most when they go to like armor up and like weaponize things, and then like Ring Wilson has that crazy baseball launcher, which is like my
Oh my
favorite.
gosh, it is funny, and he's got the padding on.
Yeah, like he's just going to war with he's like the most gym teacher thing ever. I got all this baseball padding, and I'm gonna go hit these kids with baseballs in the face, which is hilarious. Uh, but all that he did his own stunts apparently. So all those running, fighting little kid scenes, which are actually not little kids, they're dwarves. Which is I'm not sure if that's the right way to say. Is that correct? Say dwarf.
Little people.
It says dwarf stunt people on my notes. It says the infected children were doubled by dwarf stunt people. So is that like I thought dwarf was not so okay.
I
Whatever.
don't know if they prefer that or little people. I'm not really sure. We should
Mm-hmm.
probably figure that out.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
apologize if
if I
it
offended
upsets
anyone,
anyone.
my bad. My
I
bad,
mean,
dog.
it's called dwarfism, but I don't
Yeah.
know if they prefer being called that. I know
Yeah.
some do not. Some probably don't care, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean that's straight off IMDb, so hopefully
Okay.
no one's offended. Uh But yeah, he did all of his own stunts fighting all those little people.
Yeah, because they were taking baseballs to the face.
Yes, they were. And then they were
I
like
was like,
charging through them outside.
well, the first scene with him outside on the playground, and they're all like first like turning and like eating the teachers, and he like figures it out, and he's like freaking clotheslining all of them. I was
Mm-hmm.
dying. I was like, that is so funny. I was like, how many times as a teacher have you just in your brain thought, man, if I could just trip this kid in the hallway, because
I
he's
know,
just
right?
such a freaking jerk.
hundred
I'm like,
percent.
I'm like, yes.
I know.
Or just to see something else happen, and you're like,
Everyone was all like, "Oh my god!" Like when he kills Dink, you're like, every teacher has probably wanted to slap a kid. So when he's running through that crowd, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm taking out my aggressions on these children. You're the worst.
I'm taking you all down.
You're the worst." Those kids are the worst, man. Like you see, like Patriot's terrible. And his mom's like, "Have a good
Yes,
day," and he's like, "Fuck you, mom." And she's like, "Well, fuck you." I'm like, kids are
like
like
that.
that though, which is
I
crazy.
know.
You see kids talk to their parents, and in my brain, I'm like, my dad would have killed me. Like he'd beat me to sleep if I talked to my dad that way. And some of these kids are just like, whatever, kiss my ass, mom.
I feel like when mine talk to me wrong, they instantly regret it. I'm like, I'm sorry. Can we change the tone that you just talked to me in?
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah,
Yeah, I'll be like,
I
what?
just,
What did you just say? They're like,
yeah. When they start backpedaling, you're like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Yeah,
It's like
just
I can't.
maybe
I
should
just
not have said that.
sometimes I just say, I need you to get out of my face.
Mm-hmm.
Just walk away. And
Yeah.
sometimes Parker will back up. He'll just back up slowly and then just back into his room and shut the door. I'm like, that's what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're terrible. And then Clint's character is walking through, and he bumps into that little girl, and she was like, "Watch where you're going." I'm like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
pumpkin, slow your roll."
Y'all are wild in here in fifth grade.
Right?
Y'all lost y'all's mind. My favorite, one of my favorite parts though, is when he writes his name, just as like from a graphic design standpoint. Like if you don't get your kerning right, which is like the space between the letters, when he's like cunt, he's like, no, it's Clint. Tries to erase it.
He's like, "You want us to call you cunt?" I'm like, "Oh no."
What kills me is every sub tries to do that. Like people come in and everyone wants to try to be the cool, nice guy, not realizing that you really can't be that when you first walk into a classroom. You have to be like kind of mean and stern.
Well, as a sub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even as a teacher though, like you can't. You can always get nice. It's hard to get mean. Now, I'm not saying you gotta be a jerk, but you gotta start off with like,
Well, you gotta start off with your expectations and
yeah,
stuff, but I
you gotta
don't know
start
about
hard.
mean.
Nah, man, because if your kid's rough, you could never get mean.
I've
If you
never
start off
been
nice,
mean.
they know you are mean from day one, bro.
No, I'm not mean. They all love me. Shut up.
Yeah,
Well,
because
except for
you're
like the 5 kids that are terrible
because
every
you're
year.
stern and mean. You're not like mean for no reason. I'm not saying go in there and just be like a jerk to kids. I mean,
Yeah,
like you
don't
get,
smile and be like, "I hate everybody here."
yeah, I will crush all of you with my bare hands. But
I just
like,
I don't think mean is the right word because I don't think I'm mean.
sure, buddy,
I have expectations and I hold them to a higher standard. So if you can't abide by those, I'm sorry. That's the way it goes.
because you're mean. But yeah, that was his biggest
Whatever.
problem.
Okay.
That was coming in there being trying to be their buddy, and you get that scene. Those kids know. The kids are immediately like, "Shut up," and then Patriot and freaking Dink, which are terrible child names, just start picking at that little girl. And when they pull her ponytail off, I'm just like, oh,
I know he like stared at it for the longest time, like,
yeah,
oh my god, what's happening?
exactly. What do you do with that? First off, as a teacher, if I look at that little girl and she looks like that, she's getting out immediately. Hey, I'm gonna need you to go to the office. You look like you're real ill.
Right?
Because first off, no teacher wants to clean up vomit in their classroom. We just don't.
Mm-mm.
I promise you. You see those in movies. Mm-mm. If I look at a child, are you gonna throw up? Get the hell out of here. Go to the bathroom right now. Don't do that in here. Because
Or
first off,
and I had seniors this past year that would walk up to me and get real close to my face. I'm like, I feel really sick. Can I go to the bathroom? And I back up. I'm like, hey, we are too old for that.
yeah, why are you
If you
so close
gotta
to
go,
me?
just go. I mean, we can talk about it later. I
Yeah,
don't need you in my face. I don't want you throwing up on me or in the hallway. Just go away.
I told him,
I'm like,
man. I'm
oh,
like,
dang, I was mean. I'm like, no,
yeah.
it's not. I'm
See, I told you
not
you were
trying to
mean.
have grown up throw up on me. Gross.
No, like if you vomit on
8,
me,
17, 8.
we got beef.
That's what I'm saying. They were that close to me. I'm like, I need you to go away.
Yeah.
And I don't want what you have, so go away.
No, if you throw up on me, that's it.
We're not in kindergarten. This is
I'll
why I don't teach kindergarten.
I'll never like you again if you throw up on me. There's no coming back from that. You just don't come back from that. That's it. Sorry, it's a wrap.
Oh, that's funny.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
throw up is a no-go for me.
But anyway, I'd have sent her out immediately.
Yeah, because she had like boils on her face. So
Yes.
I need you to go away.
This is one of those, like, especially watching this, like, in a post-COVID kind of thing. Like, remember back whenever that was, before we left, it was like, hold up, did you just cough? I'm going to need you to leave. Like, whoa, get out, he coughed. And all the kids were like, he's got COVID. And those kids just didn't care. You know what I mean? Like, so you could tell the time frame was different. I think now it would hit a little
Yeah.
harder because, like, I remember kids, like, especially when we first came back, if a kid coughed or sneezed in class, everyone looked at them like they had the plague. It was like,
yeah, their eyes were like,
get out. Why's your mask not on? Like, all that craziness. And then, like, you think about it, you're like, all right, man, you're right. You're right. So I kicked little sad girl out with the quickness, and that would not have happened in my classroom.
no. Mm-mm.
But no, I honestly, I think people who don't like this movie are probably not teachers because this is what school feels like. It's just
Yes.
it's kind
What's
of
what
sad and like,
Yeah, that's what I was telling Johnny. I was like, man, this all seems ridiculous, but for the most part, a lot of it is true. That's what's
yeah,
sad about it.
yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. Like, if it was re-released now, I think a lot of teachers would go see it and like it, and I think the score would have, be better and if you get more money off of it because it just didn't. I don't think the timing was right
yeah. I
because
agree.
now there's a lot more teachers really frustrated with things and like just the behavior of the kids is very similar to what is happening in this movie, even like, but like not while during the Cooties part, but like,
Yeah,
you know,
beforehand, just how they're feral and
yeah, like how
disrespectful.
they, yeah, just disrespectful and don't care about authority or like have any respect for each other, or like it's gotten worse and worse. And I think that's what's causing a lot of teacher burnout. It's not necessarily the money. It is sometimes, but I think a lot more of the time it's the students and the parents, because you
Yeah,
see when Patriot, like you were talking about, when Patriot like was like "F you, mom," and she's like, she turns around and she screams it back at him. I'm like, that's what's wrong with Patriot, because
yeah,
he lives in a home with someone like that, and that a lot of our students live with parents that suck. So
yeah. I mean, let's be
they're now
honest
stuck
though.
in
If you
school.
you start the first day of school and you're reading your roster and a kid's name is Patriot, you're immediately judging that kid.
Yeah.
Your
Mhm.
parents are dudes. They named you Patriot.
I always get a little concerned when somebody's name is Damien. I'm like, why would you do that? I think that's just rude.
I've had Danny before though. That was like the nicest kid ever.
I know. I just sometimes I'm like, ooh, was that right?
Yeah. In my mind, the parents are just trying to be edgy. Like,
Oh yeah.
their parents went to Tech World a lot and they were real excited. Pick a
Not gonna
cool
lie.
name. You know what I mean? Like, they were those like goth kids at the mall. That was their parent. What's your
Yeah.
son's name? My son's name's Damien. I'm so edgy. Like, you and every
Oh
other girl with
yeah.
white makeup on named their kid Damien.
I
You
guess.
turd. You
I
big
just
turd. Damien.
I've had an angel before, and let me tell you, she was not.
I've had a bunch of angels that were
Actually, I've had a
never
bunch of
angels.
angels, and I've had only one that was actually really sweet. She wasn't sweet to other people. She was nice to me, but like angel is like a sure sign that something's going awry at some
Mhm.
point in the school year.
I know.
So
Well, I think
I
like
had one this past school year. So
yeah, she was a gem. Um,
shining star.
fucking gem. That's the one that tried to tell me if I ever came in her restaurant, she wouldn't serve me and stuff. She was a jerk. I was like, I wouldn't even care. Shut up.
Well, pick a different table.
Yeah, I'll just tell them put me some. I would never want to be served by one of my former students anyway because I don't trust them. But anyway, people are like, oh, they're great. Nah, I'm good. Um, I think your name kind of like a lot of times it's like a self fulfilling prophecy. That kid was just gonna be a turd. Like I'm God's gift
Yeah,
to
man.
America. But it was on purpose. It was written that way to like kind of poke fun at it, but also as like a commentary of like, what are people doing? Why is
Yeah.
this kid's name Patriot? Why is the other kid's name Dink? Like the kids' names in this are just terrible. And
Oh, it's
Dink's out
funny
there being a
though.
super spreader, just destroying people.
Yeah, he's a
Nuts.
punk.
He sucked. Oh, it's sad though. In this movie, you don't have a titty tally.
No, 0.
There's a
I'm
lot.
not sure I'd want one in this one.
No, that'd be weird. A lot of,
That
lot
would
of
be so
deaths
weird.
though. A lot of deaths in this one.
Yes.
So let's jump to the roll call of death, and then we'll get into the rubric. Wrap this bad boy up.
Okay.
All right. So first death, Mr. Peterson. His torso is ripped open by the kids, and then it leads almost immediately into the unnamed female teacher getting murdered by kids when she tries to help Mr. Peterson. Then we go straight into Vice Principal Sims getting his arms ripped off and just torn apart by the kids. These are all about 20 to 25 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Then we go Mrs. Gordon gets her throat ripped out by Patriot because Patriot sucks. Sheriff Dave, which was killed by Shelley Linker in the car. That scene, it was lame, and the blood is CG, which I'm kind of like, I didn't like it, especially in comparison to the time he died in Brightburn in a car was awesome. And then Patriot kills another unnamed. This one's the unnamed teacher killed by Patriot in the cabinet, and that scene was hilarious. When he breaks into the room and Ring Wilson throws
Yeah.
him into the wheelie chair and stuff, and they're like trying to fight him, and he's attacking Frodo, um, aka
Well, what's
Clint.
funny, yeah, is when he pushes them into the cabinet and he pushes her with him and it locks and Tracy, the gay teacher who
Yeah,
cracks me up, he was like, "Oh my god, who is that?"
yeah. Who
He
is that
didn't know.
lady? I
He's like
love him.
crying. He's like, "Who's that lady?" It
I
was
love
so
him so
funny.
much. He was so great on 30 Rock, like as like just
Oh
the weird
gosh.
assistant. He's just so ridiculous. His voice is so perfect. Then we got the CrossFit teacher. Follow me, I do CrossFit, which is the most CrossFit thing to do ever. I'm going to say I can survive this because I do CrossFit. Bro, follow me. I do CrossFit. He gets immediately killed. More CGI
Yeah.
blood splatters. It's probably the exact same effect because it looks pretty similar. Then we cut to the tetherball victim. So when Rainn Wilson's kid is jump roping, there's like a head on a tetherball that's a random head. So it looks like
Mhm.
a new kill, which I'm sure they're probably jump roping with that person's body, which is hilarious. Mrs. Dobkins killed by the infected baby. That kid, the son that infects the baby, is the creepiest looking kid in this movie, though. I'm pretty sure that's the kid from maybe Insidious or one of them. He's from another horror movie, but he has that weird, like, his head's down. And he's looking up at his mom through his little hair. That kid looks scary. Then his mom's like, "Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's not
gross.
him." And then the baby kills her. It's pretty funny. Then you get Dink. He finally gets his head bludgeoned in with
Right.
by Wade, which is he deserved it. Dink sucked. They found Miss Han. We found the wow, guys, I'm doing the whole real thing. Miss Hanford. Teston's hanging out.
Rear wheel.
And then after
I'm
that, we have
sorry.
a bunch of unknown victims. So we found someone dead. Patriot gets killed in like the best way ever. His little face before
Yeah.
that trailer hits him in the mouth is red. Then there's 10 dead people, bodies on the street in Danville, just randomly seen dead. You go through the road. You have no idea how they're killed. Then we get 2 more dead bodies inside the scary Thunderdome for children, that Chuck E. Cheese like
No.
place. Like
I know.
that
That's
shot
like
was
this.
wild.
I know when the lights came on and all this, like the carousel type thing, like not carousel, but it was like almost like a strobe light. Not a strobe light. I can't think. What is
Yeah.
it? Like a disco ball, but it was
Yeah.
like
Those weird
multicolored.
party lights. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is the most terrifying thing." And they all look up, and they're like, all the kids are like
I know,
with their
right?
hands in their faces. I'm like, they're all around them. It's terrible.
A little fun fact about that is that was actually not in the original version of the movie. So when it released at Sundance, the ending was a lot different, and they kind
Okay.
of they leave town. They end up in like the woods, at like this abandoned campfire. There's like a whole little campground, and they make a fire, and they're sitting around a campfire thinking they're safe, and then all the kids come out of the woods, surround them, and it ends on a cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have liked that.
No,
I
but when
think I think the ending was so funny
it was
on
great,
this one.
and they got picked up for distribution. I think it was Lionsgate maybe, gave them more money to refilm the end. So that whole crazy scene, that place is nuts. First off, those huge walls of just nets and those kids are just staring at you. It's like the Thunderdome. It's crazy. And then
Yeah.
fucking I think Wade's best line ever. I'm giving you kids an F for fuck you. He just lights them on fire with his glasses. And I'm
My
like,
favorite part was, did somebody call for a badass? That
yeah,
was that. I was like, yeah, we did. That
yeah,
was so
bro. He
good.
puts his little aviators on and lights all them kids on fire. And then of course the last death that we have isn't like for sure is that infected kid running and kind of dying at the end by Wade. Most of those kids probably die, but you don't see it, so we're not going to count it. But I do love that new ending. I think it's way better. And they get to drive off in the freaking hippie van.
Yeah, and she was like, "How did you know where to find this?" He goes, "Oh, I know where to find my jewelry." He keeps trying to say it again. I was like, "Yes."
I knew where it was going to be, which
He was
is
like, "I
funny.
have the 2 extra wheels on the back." Like he was trying to explain
Yeah.
it, but he could because he can't say it. It's so funny.
Drew wee wee. Uh-huh. It was probably one of the best improvised lines in the movie.
That was good, and he
Mm-hmm.
did it so well. Like I was
That's because it's Rainn Wilson.
dying. I know. I love Rainn Wilson.
So yeah, fun film. Huge amount of deaths. I mean, I want to say what's that like? So 23, 25, 20 to 26 for sure deaths. There's a lot of other like random body parts and stuff, which are probably other
Like parents, probably.
parents. I'm pretty sure the school nurse is killed and eaten by Patriot, but you don't really necessarily see it. Um, Lots of infected kids. Like those ones at the end were probably all murdered, but it's hard to tell because you don't actually see them die. They leave the building. That one little kid's following them and on fire, and it was crazy. Reporters killed off screen, but you don't really see that either for sure. You just kind of hear it. So more than likely
Mhm.
there was more deaths, but great little film, some cool effects. You want to jump into the rubric or you want to add anything else?
Oh, no, I just
A lot of it we'll talk about in the rubric probably too.
yeah, a lot there's a lot of good, like, one-liners and stuff, but it's mainly Wade and Doug, so
All the time. 100%.
yeah.
All right, so let's get into the literary element. So the script, story development, dialogue, and character development. What do you think?
I think they did a decent job with the writing. I mean, for it being a zombie movie, I mean, they did a pretty good job. Um, I know you're pretty much kind of following Clint at the beginning through, like, the whole movie. Um, there's a little bit of development with him because he finally, like, admits that he is a terrible writer, and he had actually been teaching that whole time. And then
Yeah.
he mentions that he thought if he became a teacher, he'd have time to write, and he was like, "But we all know that that's not true."
Mm-mm.
I was like, "Yeah, it's so true."
It's the hardest job
Uh,
ever.
I know. So, they had a lot of good, like, funny one-liners that I'm glad that they incorporated, um, because it just made it more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was well fleshed out. I don't think there was, like, no questions, like, so we know it all came from the chicken factory
Yeah.
that made the nuggets, and we saw patient 0 eat the nugget, and then from there and then I liked the addition of Doug because I think Doug's character without him, we'd been confused, because he was, like, the oddly smart one that taught science that, and then explains, like, why he says things
Mhm.
wrong or like,
He's
so weird.
he's the Nate.
Yeah. Oh, Nate. Oh gosh. But yeah, like he was explaining it and like he knew like it wouldn't affect them and like he was like if I could just get a hold of the nuggets and the kids and I could do an antidote and blah 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 and I was like okay, but like I think they did a good job. I'm not saying it's like the best writing ever, but
No,
it's
no.
also better or more well done than some others that I've seen. So,
I agree. I would say like the story overall was decent. There were some things thrown in that I think probably shouldn't have been. Like some of the love triangle stuff was whatever. And then I did like you said, I did like that we have like where the zombie plague comes from. We know that. We know why. We kind
mhm.
of answer a lot of those questions. There's a lot of throw off stuff, but there are some great dialogue. Like the dual real will joke was thrown in, but it was one line, and like Rainn Wilson just kind of improvised and ran with it and made it so much funnier. So I think that comes into a little bit of just props to the directors, even though they were new for
Mhm.
just letting people that know what they're doing kind of run with it. So this is probably like I said, the story is decent. It's got it hits a lot of the bullet points for a zombie film. A lot for the comedies too. So it's not breaking any new ground really. Other than the
No.
fact that there were kids, which was kind of cool. I did like to see that. And as a teacher, I think it affects us, or we kind of have a little deeper connection to it than your average movie watcher would, because like we actually know what that school classroom piece feels like.
And, like, if that were to happen, we would be screwed because some of the schools that we work in have over 1,000 kids in it.
Oh yeah,
This
yeah.
the school was tiny. So,
I'm pretty
I
sure
mean,
both of our new schools are pushing 2,000 kids.
yeah, they're really large right now.
I think we're both over 1,500. So it's like
We
that
are,
that
yeah.
many near adult children. That would be it. We'd all be done. Plus, there
Yeah, we'd
wouldn't
be
be any reason not to
dead.
affect us adults. If it affected a teenager like a high schooler, we're all becoming zombies.
Right? Uh,
And I've always said, man, the next plague will come from a school or a daycare. That's where all that shit breeding ground for disease and death.
it's so grim.
I know, right? So what do you think? I'm thinking like maybe 14ish,
Yeah, it's
possibly.
fun. Yeah, it's not, like, terrible, but it's not, like, great either. I mean,
Yeah, they're not
it's
breaking new ground, nothing fancy,
no, it wasn't nothing that we haven't seen before
and
other
there
than
was
the
some stuff that
kids
we didn't
part.
need. I think we could have been okay. Like it was interesting having the characters and that little bit of love triangle, I guess, but you didn't really need that. You could have just had
No.
like the whole just Wade, but then like all of a sudden she's all mad and throwing a fit, and I hate all of you, but then that kind of doesn't come back or go anywhere. So it's kind of whatever. All right, so there we go. Let's jump into the effects design element. So the visual effects elements that connect to the narrative, set design, overall character design, gore, and practical versus digital effects. They weren't bad. Some of the digital effects look real cheesy, like the blood splatter in the police car and the blood splatter on the CrossFit guy and some of that stuff. But I did like just some of the silliness, like the way they looked when they tear the guy apart, or the guts from Mr. Peterson the very early on, and some of those other scenes looked pretty decent, I think, for the most part. Um, the set design on this one is pretty perfect. It's in a school,
Yeah.
imposing. The hallways are narrow. There's crap everywhere that it's just there because we can't throw anything away because the state paid for it and you have to keep it forever, even though it's 100,000 years old and obsolete. And it very much
Right.
felt like a school. It was a school, obviously, but it felt like our schools. Like we know that, so I thought that was pretty good. And for the most part, I thought it fit the narrative. Right, it was in a school. They're teachers. You see like all those different areas. Character design, they all looked great. Wade was hilarious. He looked like a gym teacher. Those dudes are never wearing actual clothes. They're always wearing some kind of tracksuit or
No.
shorts, something that's like ha ha ha. Because really, gym teachers are like the smartest people in the building. They make the most money, or the same money as us, and do like fucking gym all day. Way more kids than us, but like I can't wear shorts. PE guys can wear shorts. It's bullshit, but whatever. Um,
Yeah, they just physical education, man.
yeah, they're
Like
there.
they just get to,
Be physical, educate. They gotta do health too,
it's
though. So that
advanced.
sucks.
That's usually if they have freshmen.
Yeah, true.
So if they don't teach freshmen, they don't have health.
Yeah, then they can do gym all day. It's rad.
Yeah, they do gym all day.
But yeah, good for them. That's fine. I like the practical in this. I'm sure there was a lot more digital that you didn't notice it, but some of it you did notice. So I don't want to give it like full points for that.
Mhm.
But overall, I thought it was a good section. I'd go in the 15 and 19 range for sure.
Okay.
What do you think?
I would score it at more on a higher end of that. Maybe like 17 or 18.
You gonna go with an 18?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll give it some knocks because, like I said, some of those blood splatters, it's obviously digital when you really could have easily done that practical and made it look just as good, right?
Mhm.
Or toned down how cartoony it looked a little bit, and it could have been okay. All right, let's jump to the next element. So, visual technical element. Overall aesthetic of the film is pleasing to the eye. Lighting, creative camera shots, and movement and lens selection. There wasn't anything that stood out to me on this. It was just a movie. There was no like crazy shots. There was a couple okay ones. I thought I liked that
Yeah, like the
scene.
vent.
Yeah, the vent was cool because it was imposing and like you got that kind of like ugh. It almost made you feel claustrophobic being in those events, but that's almost any vent shot, so that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I liked the way they shot Patriot catching that trailer hitch to the face was pretty cool. So it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It just wasn't anything
His
that was
jaw was
like,
falling off.
yeah, after getting drug on the or sliding on the concrete for like 10 minutes, which was awesome. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a great thing. I definitely deserved that 18 because that was a cool shot. He looked really cool when he slid across that
Yeah.
concrete. So yeah, I think the lighting was good. It was dark when it needed to be. Like you talked about the other one at the end when you walk in there and it's like pitch black, and all of a sudden like they hit the light and it's like just and the
I'm
kids
like,
are there
"Oh
already.
my gosh." I
Yeah,
would have been terrified. I'd be like, "We're gonna die."
100%. That's it. We're all dead. Um, and I did like the shot of the new one they added when he throws the match down or the lighter or whatever, and you see all the fire in his aviators, and he's just like, yeah, and
Yeah.
that was cool.
I love Wade so much. His
Yeah,
character's the best.
he is the best part of this movie, I think.
Yes, he is.
100%. He makes it funny. Like you said, him and Doug are really the best one. Elijah Wood character is really a throwaway character. It was cool because it was Elijah Wood, but almost anybody could have been that role, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't have been as good of a movie if someone else was Wade instead of Rainn Wilson because he's not an
Yeah.
alpha male, but him playing that alpha male is just funny. I mean,
Yes.
Rainn Wilson's like a band geek, dude. He played the bassoon. You know what I mean? Like he's not like a gym teacher, meathead guy, but it's funny to have him play that, his little mustache and stuff. I love Rainn
Yeah.
Wilson. He's great. So yeah, I mean, this one, like I said, the aesthetic of the film is great. I think it's pretty solid. I would go high on this. There's nothing really like there's cool shots. They're pretty creative. I mean, I'm gonna try to be less of a snob about it. There's no like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that shot. Like, it's beautiful,
Yeah.
but they did a good job in the vents and with some of the kids. That girl looking through the vents, that's a cool shot because it's creepy as hell. The tricycle girl. But they're few and far between, so I don't think I'd go above the 15-19 realm on this one. I'm probably thinking more like a 15-16.
Yeah, that's fine.
You think that's on point?
On point.
All right, so let's go 16. We'll be all even numbers this time. All right, sound element. The sound represents the overall tone of the film. The soundtrack, as well as the score, keeps the audience engaged with the setting, characters, location, and narrative of the piece. Now, this soundtrack was done by Kreng, Kreng. Looks like he is he's from Belgium. He's a composer. Pretty interesting guy. His name is, I cannot pronounce his name, Pepagin Caldron, which is cool. He did a sample based project and he became a composer later on. He did the whole soundtrack, it looks like.
Okay.
What'd you think? I know you're all about that soundtrack life.
There was parts of it that I thought were really good, but I think it kind of fell flat a little bit because I don't remember a lot of it. I just remember some of it. I like when the kids riding around on the trike and it's like Pop Goes the Weasel
Yeah.
kind of, and it's like, and it slows down like that, and it becomes real ominous. I'm like, ugh. I liked that because it made that scene really super creepy. That kid was just utterly creepy. I'm not big on kids being creepy anyway, and then you add a trike to like a tricycle. I'm like, eh. But then I think the score while they were on the playground was done really well too. Like each time, like the
Yeah.
one, mainly the one where like the one you were talking about where they're like playing with body parts and like jump roping with like the intestines and stuff like that. um I was like, it's like a sadistic carousel is what it sounded like, like something just utterly creepy. So I think those parts were really cool. um but I can't necessarily say that there was anything that really stood out to me other than those two things.
Okay. Okay. So
So,
what would you score it? No, this is kind of your favorite element here. The top two are usually the Jenny ones.
I would say anywhere from like a 10 to 15 or something.
You
Like
think in
it's
that
not like,
realm?
yeah, I don't think it's like super well done or anything, but I thought those two scenes were awesome. I kind of wish that it had a little bit more of that.
Okay. Okay. So we think like maybe like a 12.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. So that gives it a 60.
Okay.
Yep. 60 on the dot. All right.
I mean, obviously in my heart, it's an A because it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah. It's probably like
But
a high C for me in my heart.
oh, I love it. I think
Oh,
it's so funny.
it's great. I mean, I told you to watch it. It's an amazing movie. It's just not like the best thing ever, but
Oh,
it's
I didn't say it
funny.
was best thing ever. I just think it's so funny. It's like one of those movies where like you could sit down and watch it anytime and just laugh.
100%. Yeah, that's what I was telling Aaron. Like, I didn't even watch it this. Like, normally I watch the movies right before, but I just watched this movie last week when I was bored. So I was like, I told Aaron, we don't have to watch it again because I just watched it. She was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, there was like two quotes that cracked me up. Or no, actually three. So Wade says, "This body is a no carb zone." When they were talking about trying to find Calvin some sugar.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, that's right. I laughed so hard. And then when they were saying like, we're motivated or we're driven, and Doug's like, they seem very driven to me. Like he talking about the kids. I was like, oh my God, because they are.
Yes.
They want to kill you. Okay. And I was just dying. Oh my gosh. There's so many good lines in this. And then like Lucy was like, this is the worst Monday ever. I was like, yep. That's how I'm gonna
100%.
feel Monday.
Uh,
This is the worst Monday ever.
kind of going to feel every Monday and through most of August. Why is it
I know because
Monday?
I'm gonna be so tired.
I know. I know. I'm already. I've been at work since last Monday, so like every day.
I
Today's the
know
only
it.
day I don't have work these 2 weeks. Essentially, it's the only day I had.
Yeah.
I had PD yesterday. Got PD tomorrow. PD Saturday. Set up Sunday. School Monday. Tuesday. Kids on Wednesday.
Yep.
Gonna be a good one.
It's great.
It's great. It's awesome. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Cooties, the first in our back to school series, scored a 60. That's a D, I guess. Good job. D's get degrees, right? So congratulations.
These degrees. They sure do.
It's true. It's sad but true. So yeah. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Well, I would like to announce what our book is this month so people can get a head start on it.
Oh yeah, because it's a good one. Go ahead.
So we're reading Carrie by Stephen King. So please follow along. And if you choose to do the Audible, which I'm not, I'm actually reading this one, but if you choose to do the Audible, Sissy Spacek actually narrates it.
Yeah, and it's
So I
really
thought that
good.
was pretty badass, to be
Yeah,
honest with you. So
it's
if you want
really
to listen
good.
to it, so go
Especially those
listen
parts that
or
like is Carrie's point of view because you're
yeah.
actually have Carrie reading it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about that. That's the one we're gonna do. I've been reading it, but the moment Aaron looked on Audible and said it was Sissy Spacek, I was like, yeah, I'm listening to it. It's because
Yeah.
it's Sissy
So
Spacek. Why would you not?
and I told Johnny the same thing. I'm like, if you want to listen to it, it'd probably be a good idea because of Sissy Spacek
Yeah,
narrating. And he was like, "What? That's awesome." I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty awesome."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
She's
I started
great.
reading it and I'm like 60 pages in and it's pretty good so far. So,
Yeah, I love it. I forgot how horrible all those other girls are, but it's a good
yeah, they're
story.
wretched.
So yeah, wretched is the best term. So yeah, read along with us, guys.
Mhm.
That will be our Jenny Dreadful for the month.
Mhm.
What better
Much better
story?
than last month and,
Oh my
you
god,
know,
the lake. I'm so sad I
the
wasted Audible
woods,
credit on
the
that.
woods, sir.
Exactly. The woods or the camp or anything other than the lake. Stupid. I wasted my last Audible credit on that. I'm pissed about it.
So did I. It wasn't just you, it was me
I'm so
too.
mad about it because I could have got Carrie. Whatever. Anyway, you want to tell them where they can find us, Jenny?
Yep. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horror in the Halls. You can also follow Jenny_Dreadfuls on Instagram. You can email us at horrorinthehalls@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, guys, reach out. Let us know what you think. Episodes. Also, we do have a Patreon and special
Yes.
deal for August for our listeners. If you join Patreon at any level whatsoever in the month of August as a back to school special, like all the other places in the world, you'll get some bookmarks and stickers.
Yep.
Just as a thank you from us, and a little back to school incentive, as you know. Every store tries to give back to school sales, and they start that too early, and it's sad. So I made sure I waited till August. But yeah,
Because that's when school actually starts.
yes, unfortunately, should be like September, but whatever. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be the bell. So we're going to get out of here. We'll see you next time.
Bye.